This segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs.
Hey everybody, welcome into By Time. I am Harry McCullough. It's time to check in with the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office, and for that, we check in with First Lieutenant Blake Tabor. Thanks so much for being with us, Blake. This one had some twists and turns, and I guess the community really helped on making a pretty substantial arrest.
Absolutely, this is a case that we're sort of proud of because of the community involvement, and we'll kind of get into that as we go on, but. Of course, this was on Saturday, the day before Easter, around 3 p.m. Our patrol division was dispatched to a store off of Grand Caillou Road in reference to a shoplifting incident, which is pretty common in that particular part of town. Once we got there, of course, we got some preliminary information before our units arrived, so they began saturating the area, trying to find that particular suspect from the description that was provided by management. Of course, they weren't able to find that suspect right away, so again, they tried to further that investigation by reporting to the store to go look at video surveillance and what have you. When our unit pulled up in front of the store, a male suspect was coming out who we didn't know was a male suspect at that time. The minute he saw the officer pull up and get out of his car, he immediately took off running. So, ultimately what happens when people run, that's a, pretty good clue that something is going down. So we gave chase. Again, some other officers that were sort of in the neighborhood already assisted with that, and we quickly took him into custody a short time later. They ultimately identified him as Cedric Collins, 38. You see him photographed here. Ultimately, they found some evidence of some stolen items in his pockets, which, again, we just thought that it was just a preliminary shoplifting complaint. As we began walking him back to that store, we were contacted by a concerned citizen who said that they observed Mr. Collins throw a backpack in the course of fleeing from us. So once he looked in that backpack, he saw some pretty odd items. So once we ultimately made contact with him, he led us to the backpack where we found a fully loaded handgun inside of that particular bag, which again is very alarming to know that he had that while officers were trying to deal with him, sure. And also inside of a store where someone could have confronted him. So ultimately, due diligence, we again checked criminal history. Turns out that he is a convicted felon. So again, that heightens everything from that point. So once the investigation culminated in him being arrested for charges of theft, obstruction of justice, possession of a firearm by convicted felon, and also resisting an officer, 2 counts, and he's currently remains jailed on a $75,000 bond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Now, didn't we change our concealed carry laws in the state? So how would that affect somebody carrying?
So again, this wouldn't include him because he is a convicted felon.
Right.
But again, the general rule of thought is people are allowed to open carry in our state, okay? There are certain criteria which will allow them to carry concealed, but that has to be done through the state and through going through classes. Ultimately, what we tell people, and it's just like with Mardi Gras, we don't allow firearms on the Mardi Gras parade route for obvious reasons. Every store in this jurisdiction and throughout the state has the right to refuse service to anyone that carries a weapon. Again, it is their right. They're well within doing so. And I would imagine that this store would probably fall under those parameters. But again, for him to be carrying this firearm inside of a store where he is a known suspect in this store, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And the community, like I said, came together. They saw the backpack before and they turned it into you guys. So, which is good, right? Is everybody kind of coming together, right?
Well, look, when we talk about this all the time, we tried to fire off this initiative a couple years back. If you see something, say something. And, we always try to revert back to that because police, we can't be everywhere at every minute of the day. And people think, well, okay, that's resolved by video cameras. Well, as we know, video cameras only capture a small portion of the things that take place. So it's no substitute for someone that is out there doing the right thing and wanting to help with their community. So this particular person was brave enough to step forward. And of course, we're not going to identify that person,
Sure.
But I couldn't commend them anymore if I wanted to.
It's good. And you, like say, all kind of partnership in our community to kind of help
Well, and I think it's going back to these community leaders and these community members taking back their neighborhoods. You know, we talk about it all the time, and the police, we want to be everywhere at every minute, but we can't. But it's going to take some responsibility from those residents who are just tired or fed up with the things going on in their community to step up and work with law enforcement. And when that happens, we are seeing a lot of signs of success from that moving forward.
Shoplifting in general, as you've seen across the country, a lot of people are doing these big dash things where they take a bunch of stuff and then they sell it online or whatever. They just busted a guy in Livingston Parish not too long ago, but he had been through Baton Rouge, Lafayette, all along the I-10 and I-12 corridor. Do we have an issue with that? People coming through the malls and taking stuff from?
Yeah, so we have. You know, we've had places like that, and it seemed like sort of the hot topic for and hot stores for that particular area is like places like Ulta that has, you know, high-end perfumes, maybe places like Dillard's. But yeah, in the past, we have put out some information about being hit by a string of suspects, and we've also made some arrests in that. And some of our investigations have also led to arrests in other states with that. But most recently, it seems like that is maybe starting to calm down a little bit. I think that the suspects are sort of aware that police are on to them when it comes to those type of snatch and grabs. But certainly, you know, in any store, that could happen at any point in time.
Right. And in Terrebonne Parish, this one was in Livingston Parish, he might get a little bit tougher sentence than he would in maybe Orleans or Baton Rouge.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, Blake, thanks so much. We appreciate the update.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back. More Bite Time right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home.